Welcome back to the DIY Try or Buy podcast. So today's episode, we are going to talk about consumer relationships. How companies and have their relationships with different suppliers, vendors, people that they work with, consumers. So, we kind of talked about, where does our money go? Where do you put your money, like the stores that you go to, and what's important to you when you're buying something?
As consumers, do we only care about where our money goes when there is a controversy or when something happens? Like, when should we start to care, right? Okay.
Absolutely. So when you kind of think through that, there are some big companies that have gone through some controversial things, or unfortunately, sometimes politics swing it, but when a company supports a group, a person, something, to be aware, sometimes it doesn't go well. There's a backlash. And what people do is they react, and they're like, I can't believe that they, had so-and-so on their ad. So these are big companies like Chick-fil-A, Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Budweiser, and Kanye as the brand.
Kanye, yes.
So, Aisha, when you think about, some of the fallout or people like completely disengaging with the brand that they used to buy from all the time, what do you kind of feel about those types of like reactions?
Well, first of all, I think I'm guilty just like everybody else. I will frequent and shop or maybe purchase for certain products from companies and not even do research, right? I'm guilty of that. But I think with all the political climate and where we are right now, I think, and being in my 40s, right, being older and understanding how the system works, I am truly, truly trying to be more conscious on where I'm spending my dollars and circulating my dollars as it speaks to DEIA, supporting local businesses, shopping Black. But now I'm really trying to be more mindful of doing my research, especially if I'm like a loyal customer or if I'm going there a lot and spending my money in certain places. And it's hard. This is not like an easy thing. I mean, yes, we have Google. Yes, we have different resources and technology. But some things I want to know, it's just really hard to navigate through and find. So, and what do you do?
I mean, I love small businesses, right? Because they can carry some different things that a big box retailer does not. I also love, from a small business, they're part of your community, right? We all love Amazon, right? But it's very transactional.
Right.
When you are a part of a community, these business owners, how difficult it is to even survive. Like, that customer and consumer means so much. I mean, I love that if I can buy something locally, but let's be very honest, even from a cost perspective, we have to rely on bigger retailers sometimes for a specific product.
Right.
So,
especially if you live in a small town or you live somewhere where, you don't have access to a lot of small businesses, or, it's probably convenient for you to go to a Walmart or a big box store because you don't have, absolutely.
Yeah, just sheer access and convenience too. I think when I look at like, where do I want to support? Obviously, we've reviewed some small businesses like restaurants, right? And we love, to me, like that story to support locally, because you know where your money goes, right? It's right back into that business and for them to maintain and get their products. And so I love that when I can do it. I think, when we see all these controversies, it makes you kind of think, what's important? There's this controversy. Do I read into it? Because let's say it's a really great product or a great chain, right? If you love that food, like Chick-fil-A chicken, if you love that chicken, are you going to boycott that chicken?
Right.
Or nugget ice, because it's a thing, right? People buy ice from Chick-fil-A. It's a thing, right? So
She talking about me.
I have friends who buy. I never knew you could buy bags of ice from Chick-fil-A, but I do now. So and they're the customer experience, right? But they're not open on Sundays, right? So that Sunday you're like,
right.
Why aren't you open? I need some of your spicy chicken. So, but they've gone through some controversy.
Yeah.
Do you still buy? Do you still go there?
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A, yes, I do.
Yeah. I mean, trust me, there are some things that I battle with. I'm anemic. I love ice. I'm an ice connoisseur. I literally buy Chick-fil-A ice by the bag maybe once or twice a week. That's how much I go through ice. Yeah, it's a thing. I do have guilty pleasures, but there are some companies that it's not just one thing, it's a multitude of things that mean something to me as it speaks to sustainability, supplier diversity, how they support the community that they're in. So it can't just be just one for me, but it is like a lot of things that I hate going there. And customer service that you don't get it. I'm always checking out myself, or the environment doesn't make me feel very welcome, or you just look like you in some type of city and it's just not, I don't want to spend my money there. If I don't feel good, I don't want to go there. But one of the places that I frequent, and we're probably going to get some comments about they're horrible, but if they are, educate me. I love Target. What woman like Target? You go in, you want to get something for deodorant, you go in for one thing, you come out, we've seen the Instagram, stories, you come out with like a whole basket full of stuff at Target. Love Target. And not just because of the feeling, and we could talk about the things that they do, but I just like the fact that even back in the day, and as long as I can remember, I mean, they used to have Aretha Franklin do their theme song, and I remember that as a kid, right? And then they're all about supplier diversity. So like on the end caps, they're really big on that. They show different designers in their pictures, and you can read more about them. I mean, they're just all about diversity, and every month they're doing something. Your girl Tabitha, she has her line there at Target. So for me, and you can get coffee. I mean, it's just the whole experience at Target for me. So that's one of my faves. But some other places I just hate going to.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have changed. Their needs and like wanting different products from companies that are doing good in the world. So whether that's from sustainability, how they're getting their products, who they're working with, fair trade, paying people fairly for their products. I know it's really a thing, even being rated like green, right? Environmentally. So I feel like becoming a conscious consumer is kind of at the forefront. I think companies are paying attention to who our audience continues to change. Generations continue to change. You can get anything you want very quickly now, and so I think the brick and mortars are shifting as well. How do they diversify how they sell their products, but then who's really consuming it? So much has changed. I think locally, regionally, we have grocery chains. I think we've mentioned it before, Meijer. We have a lot in our area, and regionally in our different states in the Midwest. But they've done a lot of great promotions of local artists during Black History Month, Women's History Month, just different things, and bringing in local, right, vendors to create products for them. So it's a start, right, I think, for them. So kudos, right, because we have a colleague who's actually, her work has been in Meijer, and we love to support her. But also I got to know other artists during that time too that had their collections there. So I appreciate like the efforts, right, to bring in community, even if you are a very large retailer, a large grocery chain.
So is that something that you look for even before shopping there? If there's something new, even if it's a restaurant, like, do you do the research?
If I can, right? Like if I get pretty compelled, like new restaurants that you hear about, I like to do the research of like, who's the owners of the franchise, right? Like I do like to hear stories. Some new ones in our area pop up. I'm like, ooh, I'm going to put that on our list, because it's a new restaurant, minority owners. And that's the thing. Supplier diversity has become something that companies are really diving into, and it matters. I worked for a former company, office supplies. If you're a corporate company, you need office supplies daily. So I have seen a former employer work with a very large, well-known supplier and went to a Black-owned local distributor. So they made these little minor changes to support, their local community. So I appreciated that, right? Nothing against those really, large companies. They will get business, right? They have contracts as well.
Yeah.
So, but that companies are being also more conscious of the consumer, but also who they want to do business with. I think that's great. Working for the state, there are contracts with minority-owned, veteran-owned, women-owned businesses, enterprises, and a lot of states are really looking at who they're recommending, their companies that they're bringing into these states and building, warehouses and whatever, building a new footprint in their state. They're recommending a list of all these different vendors and suppliers they actually can work and contract with if that company makes that effort to expand their diversity in the suppliers that they're using. So.
Does it sway you one way or the other if a company gives to a political campaign or, to one of, how do you feel about that?
What I have learned working in state government is that everyone contributes to a campaign. They may contribute to both sides of a campaign as well. I think, being a consumer, how much of that do you really look into? Where do you go to find that information, right? That's like one, because if that is an important part of what you look at to decide what business you want to put your money to, that's your business, right? Like but what my thing is, that doesn't mean that's my criteria, right?
Right.
Like if people are like, I can't believe you drink that because they just endorse so-and-so, and I'm like, but I've been drinking it for 20 years, so you want me to stop because they just endorse somebody, or because I like the flavor, and I can't go about my day without having that drink, right?
So flavor for you, I'm just trying to understand. So flavor for you means more, or because you've had that history of drinking something for 20 plus years, that means more than how a company stands morally on something? Now, I'm not judging, because Chick-fil-A, that I still get the ice or whatever, but that doesn't play a role or make you think?
I think, we all have different lived experiences. We're all going to have different opinions. People vote differently from one another. Like that's how it is, right? I respect if someone does not want to buy from a company anymore because of some kind of stance that they took. I'll respect that, but I also want them to respect that I may not have that same opinion.
Gotcha.
And want them to respect, if I want to keep partaking in that product, please respect that I will, right? Whatever you choose to do, I understand that, right? Like, there's all these repercussions of these controversies where, like, stock market, right? The stocks are going down because of this, or people aren't buying the products, like, and then there's a backlog of distribution, logistics and distributions of that product. But, like, myself, right? I will respect what people choose to do, but please also then respect anybody else for what they choose to do. And don't be nasty to people because, like, I can't believe you're still drinking that. Did you see on TikTok what happened? Like,
right.
I did see, right? Like, let me make my choice, because, like, I don't want people, like, if I'm on the street or in my car, like, and I got a Chick-fil-A sandwich, I don't want people to be like, stop eating there, like honking at me, like, I can't believe you, like, and shouting, profanity or something. Like, let me eat my chicken in peace, right?
I think I'm more okay with corporations being neutral givers. Like, we looked at some of the stats yesterday when we were preparing for the episode about certain companies like a Walmart, a Home Depot, how much money they give to certain campaigns. And it was what we expected. They were pretty much neutral, but there were some companies that gave quite a bit of money on one side and not a whole lot. Now that one, for me, that bothers me. Now that's not the whole deciding factor, but that is something that I factor into when I'm deciding if I want to go to that store or not. So, yeah.
And that is okay.
Yeah.
Because that is your choice, right? Like, I think people feel like you can't even have like a good discourse. Like, I respect that.
Yeah.
Like, I absolutely respect that if you're like, no, they really disrespected blah, 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 and I feel really strongly. I hear you. I get it. I think a lot of people just can't be okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, they have to be so polarized that, like, your relationship with someone else because they're choosing, a company or product, like, chill. We're human. Right? Like,
is there a store, I will say, that you, because of the controversy around it, that you was like, okay, I'm never shopping there again? Like, you have not shopped there since. Is there one?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm like, I have such a loyalty like to one store or even one brand. I really don't. I mean, the amount that I purchase on Amazon, questionable. How, and like, where are those products from, right?
Right.
Like, where can they make the products cheaply, right, from mass consumption? But I don't know if there's like any one chain that I'm like not shopping there. I don't know, because I just don't think I gravitate towards like one location so much. Is there a store that you have? And you don't even have to name names.
The people can figure it out. I'm not gonna say the name, but there is a store that I just don't like going into. All my friends know I don't like the store. I only go there because if I am traveling and that is the place that's all they have, or if I definitely need something and I can't get it anywhere else, I will go there. But my mindset is, if I'm gonna give you my dollars, it is truly like I have to. But if I don't go there if I have the option. So no. So yes, there is one. But sometimes you just can't help it. You gotta. Yeah.
And like, where do you go to find some of this information to kind of look? So we kind of did some research, and there's a site, fair360.com. They're like a neutral site, right? That there's also a survey.
Love it.
So companies, to get on like the top 50 lists for the best diversity supplier, like your companies have to complete these surveys. They exist. These types of surveys exist. If you want to be, like the most military friendly, right, company, you gotta put your data in.
Yeah.
You got to put your information in. So, but there is that resource, fair360.com, that we look through. Like, you can see
so many different categories,
different lists.
Yeah. Companies with the most Black executives, Asian, was it AAPI, companies that hire people with disabilities. All those stats, it's all on that website that you can check out. So I think the whole point of this episode too is not to tell you how to shop, but it really is to kind of plant the seed on you as a consumer being more conscious of where you put your dollars. I cannot stand we get so up in arms when a controversy happens and then all of a sudden, like, well, I mean, it's the information is right there. I mean, most of this stuff, some things you don't know. You don't know what you don't know, but yeah, just got to be more conscious on where you spend your dollars. And I think the best bet, if you can support a local business, or you can support businesses within your community, that's your best bet.
Yeah. Absolutely. Huge supporter of entrepreneurs. Again, women-owned, veteran-owned, Black enterprises. We know there's data that it is harder for those groups to build a business. We just know to start up their business. So if they're out there in your community, a lot of communities created lists so that you can find who do you support in your local community. I love those, right? And I love people sharing like, hey, this is a new restaurant. It's women-owned, minority. Like, I love that, right? So
there was also, like, back in the day, I think it was in the 60s, and someone can please correct me on this, but when we would travel in the 80s, because it wasn't in the 60s, but there was a called the Green Book. And so when you travel down south, Black people, you couldn't go to certain gas stations. So you had this book called the Green Book. And if I can get my hands on like an original Green Book, I would love that. But it was this book that came out. It was a publication, and they basically show Black people the safe spaces that they can go to get gas, to eat. So when we travel, and even in the 80s, we had, my grandmother, we never stopped. We only stopped for bathroom breaks and getting gas. So we would have everything in foil, everything. So I'm saying all that to say, you know, there were companies out there that we knew that we could not support because they didn't support us. So man, if someone has a Green Book, please let me know, because I would love to see that. I think one of my colleagues told me he had one, but yeah. What were we going to say in regards to, if you know of some great companies that we can support that are local, Black owned, woman owned, veteran owned, whatever owned, please send them to us. We want to support them. We want to give them a shout out, because again, this show is all about supporting local businesses, reviewing, and just, circulating the dollar.
Yeah. And I think, as you become more conscious as a consumer, you know what you want to support, and that's okay, right? Mm-hmm. I always want to remind people that doesn't mean someone else believes the same thing as you, and they're going to put their money in the same place. Respect that, right? Mm-hmm. We all come from different lived experiences and have different identities. I may not agree with where they spend their money, but also it's not my business. It's their money, right? I don't control where their money goes. But I am going to be more conscious when I know more information, and sometimes you have to seek that out. And I think that's what I love, the beauty of like small businesses, because these are people who live in your community. You want to support them or their success. Like, I love a t-shirt. So even if you're not local, you have a business, tag us. Like, we'd love to kind of look at what you're doing, support you as well. Like, there's a lot of small businesses, authors even, that we love.
Black-owned businesses that we support.
Love to support and wear, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we wear, like, I love that. So I think it's just great to kind of talk about, where do you spend your money? Mm-hmm. Are you being more conscious?
Think about it. Think about it. Before you open your wallet and you go just willy-nilly to a store, think about where like she said, where you're spending your dollars. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
great stuff. So again, you have recommendations, send them over to us. So make sure you like, share, subscribe every Thursday to the DIY Charter Bike podcast, the podcast you didn't know you needed.
Bye.